to this session of IITA Connecting with our DMOs to learn more about what's going on across the country as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. We're here today with Fred Dixon, CEO of NYC Company, to hear firsthand about New York's path back to normalcy and where the city stands in its reopening plan. Thank you, Fred, for being with us today to share what's going on in New York in this new COVID-19 environment. I think the last time we were together was at our summit in February, and we learned there about the first case that was reported in New York. And at that time, I think we were talking about, gosh, what is another epidemic going to do to the travel and tourism industry? And never did we imagine that this full-blown pandemic would be with us this year. And obviously, the world's eyes have been on New York since the beginning, and we appreciate this opportunity to hear firsthand from you about what the top city destination and the gateway for inbound travel is doing and has been experiencing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and it's so good to see you. It just makes me happy to be with you and to be with our friends from IITA, and we certainly miss everyone, and we really look forward to getting back on this path.
Well, you guys are really leading the way, and we appreciate that, and want to hear what you have gone through and how others can take advantage of what you've learned. So we'll just start with the basics. Where is New York now, and in terms of the virus, is it stabilized?
It's interesting. We're actually in the best place we've been in, and I think we're in one of the best places in the country at this moment. It's all because of the masks. You got to wear your mask. So we're now coming up on 40 days below 1% infection rate, which is just remarkable, especially considering where we've been. So in terms of safety, I feel safer right here on the streets of New York, and I know my friends and colleagues do as well, than just about anywhere. And we're seeing it help foster a return to vibrancy in New York City. People are becoming more confident in going out and about. We know how to live with this virus now, and we're beginning to rebuild business. So from a health and safety perspective, we're in a really wonderful place.
That's so great to hear. So I know that you've been putting a lot of work and effort into your reopening plan. What is the plan, and what phase are you in right now?
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say thank you to everyone in the travel industry and the IITA members in particular for your support of New York, and all of the calls that we received and the outreach from everyone when we were at the height of the pandemic here in New York. And no one knew what was going on or how long it was going to happen. And to your point earlier, who knew where this was going to go, right? But we felt the love from everyone at IITA, and hopefully you felt it back from us in New York. And so we really want to thank you. This is one of those moments where I'm really proud to be a New Yorker. I'm a Southerner, as you are, Lisa. I've known you 100 years, it seems. And I grew up in the South and, cut my teeth in Nashville and in Gatlinburg and in North Carolina. And when I came to New York, this community welcomed me. And I have to say, it's coming on 20 years now that I've been in New York. And this community has come together like they do after every crisis. I think part of what makes New York so great is that we've been tested a million times. Everyone has wanted to write our obituary. In this city, and its resiliency finds a way back. And that's what we're doing right now. So early on in the pandemic, the leadership of our board, the leadership of the travel industry in New York City came together. We formed our Coalition for Hospitality and Tourism Recovery very early on, and they all got to work. And the brightest minds in our industry came together. We had former chairmen like John Tisch and Tim Zagat and Emily Rafferty from the Metropolitan Museum came back into the fold as advisors. Our current chairman, Charlie Flateman of the Schubert Organization, led the charge. And then 5 amazing co-chairs from our local industry stood up to help us lead this dialogue and help put the plan in place for recovery. And that was led by Ellen Futter at the Museum of Natural History, Thelma Golden from the Studio Museum in Harlem. Lin-Manuel Miranda came into the fold from Broadway, and he and his family and his father in particular have been wonderful supporters of ours. We have Peter Ward representing the Hotel Trades Union. So, and then Danny Meyer, our legendary restaurateur here in New York from Union Square Hospitality, came back into the fold, and we have been really super tight this whole summer in putting together the plan. In late June, we launched the roadmap for New York City's tourism reimagining and recovery, because we are reimagining our product right now. We're going to be living with this virus sometime. So it's not just about recovery, but it's about what does the travel experience look like today? And we've been really focused on that. So that plan was launched. We spent the last 3 months putting those pieces into place. We knew there was going to be a moment. We were hopeful and determined to get to a place the place where we are today in terms of taming this virus and allow our businesses to reopen. So July 7th, we launched our big revitalization campaign, which is called All In NYC, because we are doubling down on our city and we're all in for New York and its future. That plan went into place. The campaign was launched initially really just showing the world that New York was returning to some vibrancy, that we were investing in our city. You know, the media, everything is so polarized today, and New York, we're a really big punching bag, and people like to throw punches at the big guy, and that's fine, we can handle that. But it really gave us a moment to show the world that, you know what, we're not down and out. We were in a really unfortunate place. We lost a lot of friends and colleagues who we will never forget through this whole process. It's been a tough road. You can't candy coat that. But the roadmap kicked in, the All in NYC campaign launched, revitalizing New Yorkers' spirits, really stealing their backs that, you know what, this is still the greatest city in the world. We remain that way and we will be again. And we began to put the pieces together. And so it's been a great journey so far. We have a long road to go, but I'm proud of this community and the way everyone has come together. And we're going to get back at this, and we're going to do it as a group.
And those are worldwide communications campaigns to really showcase the city. Is that also talking about traveling and when to come into the city, when they can come into the city? Has your travel marketing been mostly directed at the domestic or just even the New Yorkers?
No, it's a great question. And really what it was about in the beginning was just encouraging New Yorkers to re-engage with their own city. You know, I have to say, there's going to be books and books written about what it was like to live in New York and in places like Milan and Madrid and other cities that were really impacted heavily by this virus, because it takes not only an economic toll, it takes an emotional toll on you as well, right? I mean, we were all disconnected from everyone else. I mean, I went, days and weeks without leaving my apartment except to get groceries or what have you. And you don't think about what that does to your psyche, but it really does play a role in how you look at the world and how you feel about yourself and your community. So the most important thing for us initially was to not talk about travel, to not talk about people coming into the market, because we were not ready for that. Our product was largely closed, although a lot of hotels and others stayed open throughout, but we weren't really ready to welcome everyone back. But it really was about encouraging New Yorkers to have the confidence to re-engage with their own community, because we needed to show the world that we were back, right? All you had seen was just this real unfortunate news coverage of empty streets and sirens and hospital morgues. And although that was the reality, it was quickly becoming the past. And we needed to show the world that New York was re-engaging with itself. So we really focused on that in the beginning. And we launched campaigns showing how New York businesses were reopening, telling their stories, encouraging New Yorkers to get out and about in their own community. I mean, really what we were talking about, when you say hyper-local tourism, we were talking about in your own neighborhood, right? Get out and support the restaurants that were struggling and to stay open. Get out and support the retailers that had stayed open. And because all we really were using was essential services at that time. So the initial messaging was about that. We've begun to move now beyond that. The latest campaign that we've launched this week is called Neighborhood Getaways. It's All in NYC Neighborhood Getaways. We're still only talking about a travel bubble here in the Northeast, right? We've expanded our messaging from neighborhoods to boroughs to the city. We recognize that, the interesting thing, New York is also the largest outbound market. We're not only the largest inbound international market in the US, but we're the largest outbound market, right? A lot of tour operators and trade rely on New Yorkers to get out and travel the world. That wasn't happening. New Yorkers with means had gone to their second homes, wherever that was, in the Hamptons or upstate. Those of us that were still here in the city, we weren't taking that trip to Rome this summer or going to Disney World or going to Napa. We were staying really close to home. How do we activate those people to get out and about, take staycations, and support local businesses? So that's been the message. And we're now in a phase where, with the new travel restrictions that the governor has put into place, we know what states are quarantining. And we saw, for example, it changed this week. California came off that list, which is really exciting to see. And I hope our friends out in California are faring okay with the fires and everything that's been going on. Our heart's been with them as well. But we're now talking about more regional and national travel where appropriate, right? Public health and safety first. But the campaign is in partnership with MasterCard. We have the most robust offerings that we've ever had in the marketplace in terms of give backs. So when you're dining out, MasterCard is giving you $10 back on every $20 you're spending in New York City, $25 back on every $100 hotel spend that you make. So we're literally paying people to get back out and engage with their city. thanks to the incredible generosity of our global partner, MasterCard. So it's a great campaign. It's a great message to the world. And we've seen so many celebrities and others. I shared with you this great video that Vogue put out this week for Fashion Week, just showing, the best of New York and the fact that we are doubling down on our city. We're all in on its inevitable recovery. And it really does make you feel good, even though we know we have a long road. We feel good about the horizon. We can finally see it.
Love that video that you shared. It's fantastic. And plus, you all do wonderful videos as well. So you've got a lot of really great material out there right now.
Thank you.
Showcasing the city, and that helps showcase the United States. What's your outlook for travel for the remainder of the year? I mean, I know that it's hard to know what's going to happen next, but what are you foreseeing?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question of the day, right? I mean, how do you measure in this moment? It's interesting. We called off our annual forecast in March. We were like, all bets are off, flights are grounded, hotels were beginning to close. We didn't know when things were going to get back online. So we took down our original forecast because we knew we were not going to be able to get anywhere near it. And it's still difficult to see what the remainder of the year is going to hold. We're really focusing on trying to stimulate spending here locally, trying to encourage New Yorkers to take staycations. And all I can really tell you at this moment is we're monitoring week by week. And I'm really happy to say that we're beginning to see hotel occupancy and demand tick up on the weekends, which is a great early sign. It's small, but it's in the right direction. And we're beginning to see New Yorkers get out and staycate. We're beginning to see some international travelers coming, believe it or not. Our attractions that are opened up, our hotels that are opening are saying, yes, it's largely local. It's largely regional drive market. We've had some interesting stories of people driving from as far away as Chicago because they said, man, I want to see this outdoor dining situation in New York. And I tell you, it's like Paris here in terms of the outdoor dining situation on some streets. It's pretty cool, I have to say. And a lot of us are advocating for that to remain, a staple of the summer scene as we go forward. It's given us real hope. And we're beginning to see, some bright spots, and we're beginning to see that weekend business tick up, and more hotels are starting to open. So we'll know more in the coming months. It's difficult to say what the forecast will be next year. The travel restrictions, how everyone else in the country does, is really going to have an impact on how we do here in New York, because the ability to draw travelers in without quarantine requirements is going to be key. We're also working behind the scenes on the air bridges and how we can begin to welcome back international travelers and get around some of the quarantine requirements appropriately to begin to rebuild international. I know everyone's anxious for that, and we certainly are.
Absolutely. You said you're starting to see some international. Any particular markets, or just from everywhere?
It's interesting. Humans are resourceful, right? We're wily, and especially avid travelers know how to maneuver. We want to make sure that everyone knows there is a quarantine requirement if you're coming from one of those areas. One of the reasons we are in the good shape we're in today is because we stuck to those advisories. So as much as people don't really like them, they're really important right now, and we have to enforce them. So we're only encouraging travel where it's appropriate and where it's properly done. But we have seen some, whether it's people coming in for business meetings, we've seen some families bringing their kids back to college. We have heard about travelers coming in from the UK, even parts of Asia. Latin America, really not so much, because there really are strict bans in place with the Latin American countries, with the unfortunate sort of virus situation in places like Brazil. But we're beginning to see some of our core international markets slowly start to trickle back in appropriately. And I think that is going to give us a platform from which to build going forward.
Yeah, that's really, again, great news to hear, because, so much of the country is still just not seeing anything, even domestically, much, which is understandable. But, as the international markets really start to open up with the airlines and with their own situations in their own countries improving, then hopefully it'll keep growing pretty quickly and pretty steadily. But so what are your travel and tourism businesses doing to prepare for, post-COVID, to get back to normal levels? Is there anything special or specific that they're doing or that you're doing to help them?
Yeah, so, like a lot of destinations, we stood up a ton of virtual content, right? Because one of the things we wanted to do was to make sure that our brand stayed connected, right? That people that love New York still could connect to New York, and all of our attractions and product could stay connected as well. So We launched Virtual NYC in the early days. It's still running. We actually have now virtual field trips up, which have been, I think, a lifesaver for a lot of teachers and educators who couldn't bring that student group to New York this year from wherever they are in the world. And there's a wealth of online and virtual resources available for individuals and groups on our website at nycgo.com. So that's still running, and that will continue to run throughout until everyone is fully able to access the market. But otherwise, the attractions, in particular in the hotels and restaurants, have all been working really hard to stand up proper safety protocols. We launched very early on the Stay Well NYC Pledge. I have to give credit to where it's due to our friends and colleagues in Asheville, North Carolina. They were one of the first to stand up a real two-part health pledge, right? We as businesses have a responsibility to keep you safe, but you as travelers also have a responsibility to keep us safe and other travelers, right? So it's all about mask wearing, social distancing, hand washing, and hygiene. It was a terrific idea, so hats off to Asheville. We adopted some of that language, but it's been in place now for several months. And so we all feel really good about how we've been able to reopen our businesses. The Empire State Building was one of the first to reopen. They have some of the most advanced HEPA filtration and air circulation technology in the marketplace, social distancing, hand sanitations, employee protocols, mask requirements, as do all of our businesses now. Empire State Building helped lead the way, but you quickly saw others come online and do that. Top of the Rock has done that. One World Observatory is getting ready to do it, and our newest observatory, The Edge, has just reopened here in Hudson Yards, and it's just spectacular. So they have all those protocols in place. The hotels as well, of course, have best-in-class protocols. And we're reinventing a lot of the experience right now. Hours have changed and adapted based on what consumers are looking for at the moment. Dwell times are changing. We're still learning what that looks like. The way we package attractions and the way that we encourage neighborhood promotion. Not everyone is really ready to get back on public transit yet, although the subways are the cleanest they've ever been, I have to say. It's interesting. We prided ourselves always on having a 24/7 metro system, right? One of the only major metros in the world that never closed down. Well, guess what? It's closing down now every night, but for good reason, for cleaning, right? Every night. I've been on the subway. It is a safe experience. Most everyone is doing a really great job in New York of wearing masks. So we're showing people how to do travel smartly, how to get out and explore the boroughs. Our tour guides have done a terrific job of reimagining their product. They just launched a brand new program called Tour Your City. The Guides Association of New York did, encouraging New Yorkers to get out and explore their neighborhoods, but smaller tours, more bespoke. Everyone's learned how to do it socially distanced, but to do it effectively. And guess what? Everyone is so excited to get back out and about. And, and we recognize that there are going to be trade-offs, but it's worth it, for the travel experience and to be able to get some normalcy back in our lives. So we see how the building blocks are coming together, and it really makes us hopeful.
That's great. Now, what about the big question on everybody's minds, Broadway?
Yeah, it's funny. I tried to tell everyone, coming to New York without Broadway was not a consolation prize. And I still believe that, actually. There's so many things to do in New York. We are the arts and culture capital, of the nation, if not the world. And all of our great museums are opening back up. The great dining experiences are coming back. Our nightlife has not come back yet in our bars, but that will come, I think, at the right moment, obviously. But Broadway is, of course, the big thing that everyone is looking to. So it is the hallmark for New York tourism in so many ways. We had such an incredible season going into this pandemic. And so I'm really proud to tell you that they have hired some of the smartest, brightest epidemiologists and scientists and engineers to put together a plan for Broadway's reopening. They've been hard at work. We know now that it's not going to open before January 1, but they're working very hard to get it open back up in 2021, where not only are our audiences safe and the consumers that are coming, but that the cast and crew are able to work safely. That is the single most important priority. You're in an orchestra pit, you're side by side with people that are playing instruments and blowing air, and backstage artists and actors and stagehands are just side by side. So we have to protect them. And that is underway right now. And I can tell you, talking to the Broadway producers and Charlotte St. Martin, our board member who heads up the Broadway League, they're doing some really smart things. And I feel really confident in their ability to get the shows back up safely next year. And we're looking for that. That will be the eventual green light that New York City tourism is back in a big, big way and ready to welcome the world again. And we're excited for it.
That's fantastic. Now, there's no schedule out yet, right? As in
No.
terms of when it will be. Okay. What would you like to say maybe to inbound operators or the international buyers around the world about where you are right now and what they should be looking for?
Yeah, well, I first want to say thanks to my incredible tourism team, right? Makiko, Matsuda Healy, Reginald Charlo, and John Marshall, who have just been incredible troopers through this entire process and working so hard to stay connected with everyone. You know, like a lot of destinations, you know, we're challenged from a budgetary perspective. We're working on some new funding, and I feel very good about where we're going to net out. We've had to make some cost savings like everyone has, right? I don't know a single business that's not had to curtail their expenses at the moment. So we had to pull back on our international presence for a moment, but that's okay. The team has stayed really connected. We're getting ready to launch a new curriculum of sales and marketing opportunities where our members, you know, we can't travel out to the markets necessarily, right, for some time, but we're going to be creating an online virtual process to do that so we can begin to reconnect with the trade. You're going to hear that from us very soon and what the details of that will look like. Mikiko and Reginald and John are working very hard on that right now. So to the travel trade, I just want to say, you know, we've been thinking about everyone through this entire process. New York City would not be New York City. It would not be the destination that it is without particularly the international inbound operators. You are our lifeblood in just about every way. You helped create this destination, and you're going to be a huge part of its recovery. And we're here for you. You know, we recognize that you all too have gone through an incredibly difficult time, and to hear the optimism from folks. You know, we've all been challenged before. You know, no one in this industry, you know, is without scars. We all are carrying, you know, battle wounds from past situations, and that makes us stronger, and that makes us, you know, that makes us smarter and more resilient. And so I just say to the trade, you know, keep your head up. Let's keep our eye on the horizon. You know, New York City is going to be here for you. We're going to help you rebuild this business. You know, as the largest gateway into the United States, we feel a responsibility to the rest of the country to help get that business back on track safely and appropriately at the right time. So we're going to be here for the trade, and we're going to build this business back with you together. And we welcome any ideas and any opportunities to do that. And, you know, I just want to thank everyone for their resilience and for their continued optimism in through what has been an incredibly difficult time, and will be a long road ahead.
Well, we want to thank you, too, you and your team and the travel industry, of course, you know, specifically. And so we really want to thank you all for your leadership and for showing so much of the rest of the country how to do it and how to do it well, and how to do it creatively and how to do it in a way that's going to get all of those international markets and visitors back to our country. Fred, you're awesome. We appreciate you always and your time and New York's commitment to bringing international visitors back to the United States, and just as soon as possible.
Yeah, we love that. And we're all in on New York City, and we encourage everyone to be all in as well. We're going to build this back safely, and we're going to build it back strong. You know, we get knocked down and we get back up again, right? That's what you do. And that's what we're going to do again. And so we look forward to building those bridges back with everybody. Thank you for all your
We too, and we'll be there. We'll all be there.
Yeah, thanks for your leadership, Lisa.
All right. Thank you, Fred.